I'm Amber Stubbs Idell, and I've been rescuing as far back as I can remember. I've always had a bottle or a Band-Aid in my hand for any animal, big or small, that I've come across since I was less than 2 years old. And I grew up on a road called Ferry Road in Galveston that leads to the ferry service across the bay, and people would have their dogs jump out of the back of their trucks or their cars, and they wouldn't notice while they were in line for the ferry, and then hours later they would find their dog missing. Well, because we lived near there, we were constantly finding the dogs and getting them back to their owners or finding new homes for them if we couldn't. And I've done that since I was probably 6 years old. And then in the late 90s, I found a group in Houston called Second Chance Pets, and I became affiliated with them and started rescuing in an organized effort to end homeless pet overpopulation in the city of Houston, Texas. And since the early 90s, I have placed over 800 animals into homes. Whether they stayed with me one day or a year, it didn't matter. It got a name, it got a collar, it got a number, and it got adopted. Very few of our outcomes were disastrous or critical. Very few of our outcomes have resulted in returns. Most of my foster dogs that are still alive at this time remember me, and when they come to see me, it's always it's like a great homecoming reunion. They're happy to see me, and I'm happy to see them. And I keep track of the people that have my foster dogs, and they send me updates all of the time, which is nice. It makes you feel good that you did something worthwhile that's going to last for the lifetime of the dog. I think fostering is important because the rescue groups can't function without foster parents. Foster parents give the dog a healthy home life, which is very different than shelter life. Shelter life is warehousing of animals, and that's not something that is normal to their nature and their social life. So if you bring them into a home, they become part of your pack order, and they become part of your family. And the dogs learn how to behave in a household environment, which is where they're going. So it makes sense to foster and not warehouse dogs and cats. Fostering entails giving the dog a loving place to live, a warm bed, food, water, and medical care if necessary is generally covered by the rescue groups. The other thing the rescue groups cover is medications like heartworm control, sometimes flea control, depending on which group you're affiliated with, and anything else the animal needs. I love fostering dogs and cats in that I'm able to love on them and I pour myself into them. I give them everything I would give my own dog or my own child in order to give them a firm foundation to start their new life on. And anybody that's adopted my animals will tell you that my dogs come super well socialized. Even if it means bringing them up in the bed with me when they're an infant, that's what they get. They get whatever they need to be a good dog and go on to live a good life. And our cats too. Our cats are extremely well socialized, and all of our pets get along together, dogs and cats, and whatever else is in the house that's being fostered for whatever group at the moment. We do ferrets, we do turtles, we used to do horses, and we have a rescue donkey at the moment. Colleen, is there anything else you want me to?
Yes. Like, what do you think about if you're considering becoming a foster and you've never done it before? What are just some, basics as to how to go about starting it?
Yeah, if I wanted to become a foster locally, like for ARF Texas, which is the Animal Rescue Foundation in Seguin, I would approach them through their web page, which is www.arftexas.com, and I would leave a message on there, I want to foster tab, or volunteer opportunities, or even just contact us. Find the contact information and leave them a message. Tell them that you want to become a foster, you'd like to know more about it, and they'll explain to you what it entails for their group. And this goes for just about any group that you might choose to foster for.
As an experienced foster and rescue yourself, what would you tell somebody to do if they were to find an abandoned puppy?
Initially, if you find an abandoned animal, the most important thing to do for an infant puppy or kitten is to get it warm. Get it warm any way that you have to. You can throw a towel in the dryer and warm up the towel. You can put them on a heating pad with a towel between the heating pad and the animal. In some instances, I've stuck them in my sports bra. It's whatever it takes to get them warm. Then I get some warm fluids into them via a bottle, if it's a bottle baby. If it's able to eat, we warm up their food in the microwave or with warm water so that we get their core temperature up. It's important to keep their core temperature either up or, in the case of being overheated, bring it down, because you want them at the right temperature, otherwise they can't survive.
Okay, and how often or how much would you feed at that point?
A bottle baby?
Yeah.
As far as bottle babies go, I do mostly dogs. I have done cats and ferrets and other animals, but we'll speak of dogs at the instance. I would do 2 ounce, I would feed them every 2 hours, usually about an ounce of formula, or I make my own special formula that's comes from happy goats. It's goat milk from happy animals that are not raised in a bad environment. These goats are extremely happy, which I think makes their milk more nutritious, and if it doesn't, it makes me feel better anyway. And I do goat milk and Pedialyte and honey mixed together, and what that does is it hydrates the animal with the appropriate electrolytes, but it also gives them instant glucose to burn and instant carbohydrates. So it gives them energy that they can burn right away, because infants spend a lot of their time trying to stay warm, and they burn that energy very quickly, so they have to eat every 2 hours.
Okay, and what if this puppy that was found has terrible fleas and is in bad shape? There's fleas all over it, ticks, what have you.
Okay,
well, how do you clean it?
Usually you won't find ticks on tiny infant puppies because their mothers lick them, but if it has fleas, which happens quite often, what we do is I take a washcloth and spray flea mist on it, usually Adam's flea mist or cedar and all natural flea mist. We'll spray it on the towel, and then you wrap the infant in the washcloth or towel, and what that does is it creates a fumigation type effect. The fleas will jump off onto the towel and die when they're actually trying to get away from the fumes of the spray. So leave the animal's nose sticking out so that they're getting fresh air, but their body is covered in the towel.
And you would recommend to take to a vet?
Yeah, I would recommend taking any infant animal you find to a vet or to an experienced rescuer immediately. Even wildlife rehabbers can help them in an emergency and try to get them off to a rescue group.
That's awesome. Okay, and then the extra care, of course, we've already touched base on that. What is the hardest part about fostering for you?
For me, fostering, because I do mostly puppies, the hardest part is letting them go and knowing that I no longer have any control over what happens to them. I want them to go away from me. I want them to be special. I want them to be secure and happy and loved. And that's the goal of every rescue group. However, that doesn't always happen that way. Accidents happen, and sometimes life changes and a dog has to be returned due to catastrophic illness on the part of the owner or something. But I would prefer that the animal come back to me. In fact, I make it well known that all my animals, foster or rescue, can come back to me at any time. They always have a home.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Well, thank you, Amber.
All right. Well, thanks, Colleen. Is that good stuff? That's good stuff. And what I'm using with him is a human Playtex nurser with a premature infant nipple on it, and it's just the right size for him. And he's a Chihuahua, so he's a pretty small puppy to be using that size nipple. For a larger breed dog, I would use just a regular human nipple. Oh, I know, that's good stuff, isn't it? It's formula, rice cereal, and honey. Tastes so it tastes good. And if you try to give it to him without the honey, he'll make grimacing faces and not eat it. So he really wants that instant energy. Well, the honey is a good energy form for them to help maintain body temperature.
Oh.
Because he doesn't have a mama to keep him warm, he has to do it himself. So I have him on a heating pad with a towel on low, and then we feed him instant energy as well as long-term carbohydrate energy in his bottle so that he can stay warm the whole time. Because when I bring him out of that environment to eat, he gets a little chilled.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we would if we stepped out of a warm bath into a
Right.
cold room and didn't have a towel. So, That's good, I know. Oh, look at you shaking. So, see how he's licking?
Yeah.
Yeah, that says he's
He's
getting ready to
eat us.
should be old enough to eat out of a bowl.